Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Amazing Adventures featuring the Beast, issue number 14, dated September 1972. As far as my overall impressions of this particular issue, they're pretty positive for the most part. The art isn't that great, although there are a few panels that I thought really looked good, and I like the layouts, but the finished art wasn't all that great. We got kind of like a one-shot villain, Quasimodo. Normally, those sort of one-and-done battles usually don't create for a memorable comic book, but I like this story. It had emotion, and the villain showed actually quite a bit of emotion here. The Beast obviously was one of the original X-Men. This particular run came out when the main title for the X-Men was on a hiatus. At that point, they were just running reprints in the title, in the regular title, and the X-Men characters themselves were sort of just bobbing for air for a good part of the early and mid 70s. And this is an attempt to do something with one of their characters, the Beast. Obviously, there was a great transformation. This was a hugely successful move by Marvel because the Beast is one of Marvel's best properties. And I saw the Beast actually was in the ending of the Marvels movie, and that got a bigger cheer from the crowd as anyone else when Kelsey Grammer showed up as the Beast.
We were hoping you could tell us.
So I think what happened here was what Steve Englehart was trying to do with the Secret Empire here, which is mentioned prominently throughout the issue, although that's not the main villain. I think Steve Englehart ended up sort of finishing the storyline in Captain America. And Captain America took care of the quote-unquote secret empire. That the Beast is encountering their agents, but that story hasn't gotten to fruition yet. Steve Englehart was one of Marvel's best writers. So, like I said, this is a pretty good issue. We see the cover. The cover is extremely well drawn. It's by Gil Kane. Gil Kane was Marvel's top cover artist in the 1970s. Kind of a recap of what happened in the previous issue, what's coming up. I would have been happy buying this comic book when it came out when I was 5 years old. Okay, so I'm going to start the issue. The Vampire Machine. We see a layout of the Beast. It kind of looks like a scene from the old X-Men training room where these little missiles are coming at him and he's just dodging them with his agility. However, this is really happening. Splash page is pretty good. The art, like I said, is kind of a little on and off-ish. Let me tell you who drew this. Tom Sutton. Tom Sutton, yeah. I remember Tom Sutton, his work I felt was sort of on and off. Steve Englehart is the writer of this issue. Steve Englehart's a great writer. And we see the lettering is by John Costanza. That's a name I'm somewhat familiar with. And it's edited by Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas was sort of seeing how the comics were leaving the House of Marvel. So we see the Beast. He's saying something to someone, and he's announcing himself very loudly. He's announcing himself to the guys who are firing those missiles at him. And we see Iron Man, and the Beast grabs him, and the Beast is communicating with Iron Man. They obviously speak the same language. However, Iron Man is saying, "Dude, this is the wrong time, wrong place for this, because we're kind of doing tests here." So anyway, the Beast is still insistent that Iron Man listens to what he has to say. So he has like main character problems right here. But he's like saying, ignore those exploding missiles. You gotta hear me. You gotta hear me. So anyway, one of the missiles comes very close and kind of knocks both of them out. Neither one of them are hurt by it. Although there are other missiles in the area. Iron Man and the Beast, they're kind of having it out verbally. And Iron Man's impressed with the Beast, but at the same time, he's a little annoyed with him. So it turns out Tony Stark's guards come because I guess this is some type of test on Stark Industries, test ground. Because I think at this point, Tony Stark was still making weapons. I think a few issues later, I think he got out of the weapons business because the Vietnam War was very unpopular at the time with young readers. So they sort of wanted to shy away from anything that kind of upset them. So anyway, we see one of the guards. He fires at the Beast. He's just scared. He went rogue. He went rogue. He went Dirty Harry here. The Beast is hit, but the Beast is like, hey, not a problem. And apparently he has like Wolverine immunity properties. This is before Wolverine was created. So he heals instantaneously. The Beast and Iron Man, they're talking it out. They hash their differences, whatever. They have an understanding that they're cool with each other. And Iron Man wishes the Beast well. He wishes a guy who's basically a talking gorilla. Well, I've always felt the Beast accepted this transformation too easily. Yeah, because I would not want to be a talking gorilla, which is basic. Let's be honest, that's what the Beast is.
I couldn't fuck a gorilla.
So anyway, Iron Man's pissed at that guard who went half cocked and fired at his friend. He said, he breaks his gun, tells him, just collect whatever pay you have coming to you. You have been fired. You are served. So anyway, Iron Man says, hey, he doesn't like his police, or he likes his cops. He has that authoritarian streak, but he doesn't like his personal cops. Basically, this is what these guards are. Doesn't like them, operating half cocked and jumping to assumptions. So anyway, the Beast is going off into the night. He's kind of contemplating his new life. He's kind of thinking of his previous adventure. I think that was against the kind of the masters of the evil mutants group, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Yeah, that was a pretty good issue too. Anyway, he sees a couple enjoying the night. They look a little like Peter and Gwen, except if this is Peter, this is like creepy middle-aged Peter Parker. Because goddamn, that guy is scary. She looks pretty. She's well drawn though. Anyway, Beast is kind of skipping that drama. He's going home. He's just thinking about his life and what it's become and what it is right now. And he still wants to be among the existing, so he's not suicidal. But nevertheless, yeah, he's having a hard time. Anyway, he has a girlfriend. Still has maintained this girlfriend. It's a weird relationship because she really doesn't seem to like him, but she's very beautiful. So Hank McCoy overlooks that. Turns out that while Hank McCoy is currently the Beast, and I'm making the assumption you already know this if you're listening to this, he's been using basically latex mask to hide who he is, but one of them has a hole. So he has to get into his human costume, but his latex mask, which is not natural looking at all, that little hole might tip someone off. However, he's not drawn that way. He's drawn looking like regular Hank. So of course he's going to fool the people in the Marvel Universe. His girlfriend comes in. He's pretending to be ill. So he has all these clothes on. So that's kind of how he can hide his, how he's gotten bigger. I believe that when he did transform into the Beast, he did get physically bigger. So there's kind of a distance between these two. Hank doesn't have any suspicions about her, but at the same time, he kind of says he doesn't really like her that much. And she's kind of being very romantic, but there's kind of a phoniness to it. So anyway, these two are going back, talking about how she could help Hank get better. But Hank's like, no, leave me alone. Leave me alone. So anyway, he kind of blows her off. He feels really bad about it because he knows that this relationship won't go anywhere as long as he's looking like, like a gorilla, which is what he is.
I couldn't fuck a gorilla.
So anyway, before I go back to the story, I'm going to take a look at the Marvel bullpen bulletins. And there's Stan's soapbox. Stan's soapbox was kind of a weird thing. Stan would just kind of write about his feelings about things. There seemed to be like no general idea on where to go. So there's a lot of kind of like a train of consciousness, stream of consciousness. So it's usually just Stanley's stream of consciousness here. He's just talking about what's going on in the office. So yeah, he's just concerned about the office and the going-ons there, like who's taking care of what and who will be doing what. So that's basically, he doesn't have any topics he's pondering. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the Mighty Marvel checklist. Go through every issue, tell you what I know about them, and whether I would have bought them or not. Okay, now the first one is Fantastic Four 126. I was a big Fantastic Four reader, so I would have bought that. Spider-Man's next, 112. I think that's the infamous one where Spidey, quote, cops out. And he's getting tired of being a hero at the time. Again, kind of reflecting a little bit of the world weariness of its readership. I remember that as a good issue. Thor 203. I never really was into Thor solo. I liked Thor as an Avenger. Okay, the Avengers they're up to 103. This is the Sentinel story. This is the earliest comic book I remember reading. That in the previous issue. I know I was reading comic books earlier than that, but I remember this being the earliest comic book I ever read. Hulk 155, The Shaper of Worlds. That was a good issue. I really enjoyed that one. And that one was emotional too. Captain America and the Falcon. This is Captain America versus Nick Fury, Sharon quits S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, Captain America was kind of in a weird spot. I think Steve Englehart had just taken over the title, and he kind of straightened out the title. Captain America was weird in that it was a flagship title that didn't sell like one. So they were really experimenting a lot. And none of the experimentations worked. It was really Steve Englehart who figured out this is the story. These are the stories that readers of Captain America want to read. And it was a successful run. Daredevil, never really bought Daredevil. No, it's Daredevil 91. Yeah, I wasn't a Daredevil fan. I liked very few of those issues. Submariner 53. That was a pretty good issue. That was one of the last by Bill Everett, who created the Submariner. Iron Man number 50. I think that was a good one. That was with Princess Python. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good one. Although Princess Python came off as a little creepy at the end. Okay, Conan the Barbarian number 18. That was a really good issue. I think Gil Kane did that, not Barry Smith. Called the Conqueror number 4 was also out. I thought those early Called the Conquerors were kind of underrated. I remember reading them, and they were better than I thought. Marvel Team Up number 4. That was Spider-Man and the X-Men. I like that issue. That's an issue. That was a tryout issue. They were trying to do something new with the X-Men at the time. Captain Marvel 22. Yeah, before Starling got on the title, these weren't much. He's talking about Amazing Adventures 14. And Werewolf by Night number 1. Tomb of Dracula. I was not a big werewolf fan. I did like Dracula. I liked Werewolf in the Spidey team up, but him and his regular comic, I never bought it. Marvel feature. This is Ant-Man. I was never a fan of Ant-Man. Marvel premiere number 4. That's with Doctor Strange. That was a pretty good one. Creatures on the Loose. That's the one with Gulliver Jones. Heard those were awful. And there was Nick Fury and Red Wolf. I guess the less said about those, the better. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the story. Hank is very frustrated with his turn in his life because he's kind of stuck in his body. When he originally did this, he could turn back, but he had to do it within an hour, that is just a dumb reason to do what he did. Because you can't always count on being back in an hour. And he did it so he could snoop around easier. It was really a bad decision on the Beast to take this formula. So nevertheless, he's suffering consequences. We see another woman. She's kind of she's looking for Hank. So she's entering his building. I'm gonna say spoilers. This is, I think, Hank's old girlfriend. So Hank McCoy had a girlfriend during his run with the X-Men. She always kind of hung around, and I think that is her probably. Anyway, Hank's out on patrol as the Beast. He's kind of doing a Spider-Man thing. He's still searching around the lab that he works in, because he's convinced that somehow there are personnel involved with this, nefarious plot to do something. He sort of has an ill feeling about it. So Hank is trying to break into the factory that he works in as the Beast. He's encountering resistance from soldiers. I'm not sure why soldiers are guarding this private entity's building. Hey, might be important. So anyway, the Beast is still there. He's still attracting attention. So everyone sees him. The soldiers who are guarding the place see him. The guys who are in charge of securing the factory, they're seeing him. So he's not hiding what he is. And he goes into the factory. This is a great hubbubaloo here with soldiers and a lot of people just searching for this basically gorilla that attacked them. Hank McCoy shows up. And the captain, the guy who's in charge of security, obviously he knows Hank McCoy, doesn't really like him. And he kind of is questioning him why he's here. We know why he's here, because he was there as the Beast. And this is sort of like switching into his regular identity. A nice panel here. Not only is it nicely drawn, but it's really nicely inked too, where Hank McCoy is denying that he's up to anything. The captain's still asking him, hey, where were you here those days? And it turns out that Hank gives the captain a lie. He tells him a lie because the two are going at it, because the captain's clearly suspicious. However, remember, Hank also encountered his girlfriend earlier. So when he has to report about his whereabouts, she's going to be involved because those two had interacted earlier. And apparently they're disagreeing on the events of the day. They're still going through. The captain's interrogating them. The girls, Hank's girlfriend, I think another female employee, they're getting caught in these lies because it's stuff that Hank McCoy he's not being honest about, and they're like, hey, you're saying we did this stuff we didn't do, we can get into trouble for this. So the two are kind of going back and forth. Hank tells a really blatant lie, hoping that his girlfriend will kind of quietly stick up for him. But no, she immediately sells him out, saying, hey, that is not true, that is a lie. And the army captain is furious, and he's like, well, you lying to the head of security here, that is damaging, given how top secret this is. So he's basically telling him that he's under arrest, but not immediately. So basically, tomorrow when Hank McCoy goes into this army officer's office, he'll probably be arrested at that point. But nevertheless, for some reason, one of the soldiers reported seeing the beast hanging around. That will come back later on. So anyway, Hank kind of knows he's in a lot of trouble, and he's just gotten a slight reprieve. He's with his girlfriend. The girlfriend has to explain why she didn't stick up for him. She's giving her reasons. And, Hank is I understand, but, I'm just a little disappointed. So anyway, Hank goes back to the lab in his costume. Oh yeah, the whole time he has on like I mentioned, he has his identity costume. And he's at work. Very cartoonish drawings here, but I kind of like them. I love those computers with the tape. Anyway, Hank is trying to think about what to do before he has to report to the captain's office. But it turns out that Hank also sees a figure. Oh, Hank's in the laboratory because he's trying to find a quick cure, a way of curing himself before he meets with the army captain. I was like, really? Come on, dude. Seriously. Anyway, Hank McCoy sees a figure. It's a figure that looks like something like the Beast would throw. However, Hank's like, hey, that's not the Beast because I'm the Beast. And he gets out of his human costume, and he encounters him in his hairy form. Pretty nicely drawn panel here, page I should say, kind of the way the panels are set up. And Hank McCoy, he gets closer and closer to the intruder, and the intruder turns out to be Quasimodo. Quasimodo is the villain that was seen in the Fantastic Four and in the Silver Surfer. So he's a somewhat established villain at this point, though probably not well known. Very dangerous, though. He's Quasimodo, the human computer. He is kind of a vanity complex. Because when he requested that he become a human being, he wanted to be a good-looking guy, and the Silver Surfer kind of made him into a human shape, but kind of gave him this jacked-up appearance. And Silver Surfer was like, "Hey, guy, I'm not those doctors on the show Botched. That shit I don't do. Just take what you're given and leave me alone." And Quasimodo did that, but he's still kind of battling the fact he's kind of this really ugly mofo. So anyway, so he's battling it out with the Beast. And the Beast has his hands full because this is a very powerful, very dangerous villain. Fires a ray at him. They're slugging it out. The two of them, it's going back and forth. So the Beast is giving everything that Quasimodo can give. I guess before I go back to the story, I'm going to take a look at the letters page. And let's see. They're talking about some of the earlier issues where it was Tom Sutton's drawings, but Mike Plug was inking them. I think that's why I like Sutton's work in some of those earlier issues. I think might have been Mike Plug's inking that I did like. Mike Plug was their big kind of horror guy. He was a great artist. Once he left, he stopped doing horror comics. He just left comics altogether. But man, I loved his work. So anyway, they liked the stories. Steve Englehart, Steve Englehart's a good writer. And they print the guy's name and address. And I kind of hope that maybe some really bad people did not visit these kids, because you got their whole address right here. Okay, we have another letter. They're talking about issues 11 and 12. They like the Beast. It's a new character at this point. This is a new variation of it. They like the art. They like that Mike Plug is working with Tom Sutton. So when they praise Tom Sutton's artwork, they're talking about it being inked by Mike Plug. So it's Plug who they're focused on. And this letter is saying, hey, you have to have a strong inker for Don Sutton's work. You can't, if you have a weak inker, you're gonna have a bad comic. Okay, this other one, he goes on. This guy's a smart guy. He knows his comic. And here's some suggestions. Saying the Beast should be larger than most men around him. Which, that makes sense. He doesn't always look that way. He kind of blends in with kind of average-looking guys. He wants the Beast to be able to, like, wall crawl. Yeah, that's giving him too many powers. Oh, there must be, like, a Werewolf by Night crossover. I don't think that ever happened. Yeah, they keep mentioning the inking. Then Marvel, they kind of did give him an answer back. Another letter saying that they like what the comic is doing so far, and they all the letters mention the artist and saying you need a good inker with this guy. It's like everyone knows his limitations. If you have a good inker, Tom Sutton's going to produce good work, but if you have a bad inker, Tom Sutton's work is not that good. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go back to the story. This is kind of an average inker. This is definitely not Mike Plug. Mike Plug would produce much better work. But nevertheless, it's still pretty competent. The two are fighting it out, Quasimodo and the Beast. They're going back and forth, a little philosophical at this point. I think some of the Beast's logic is affecting Quasimodo. Quasimodo's getting very emotional for a being that claims to seek humanity. I mean, he has tons of emotions. Same way, the two are falling. They're now fighting on a closed construction site. So this is probably off hours. So it's sort of like a jungle gym. They can go back and forth on these steel girders, not really bother anyone. And anyway, the two are fighting it out. Again, they're getting very philosophical, the two of them. And the Beast figures out that if you kind of play on his emotions, that's where he's at his weakest. Yeah. So anyway, the Beast feels that psychologically he has the upper hand because he's able to manipulate Quasimodo, but saying that Quasimodo is still a formidable opponent. So the Beast is getting belted here. So anyway, the two are still fighting on the construction site, kind of tossing girders at one another. The Quasimodo uses a riveter, and he's firing rivets at the Beast. Now the Beast says, hey, go ahead. My immune system will prevent me from getting seriously hurt. However, it turns out that those rivets were actually missing the beast, so the beast had no reason to be so brave. And when he gets hit by one, he actually feels it. So this is sort of when they started taking away that immunity power from him. So now the beast can get hurt. And not only is he hurt, he's actually bleeding. So his body's not instantly healing. He doesn't know where that power went. This is sort of like an attempt to depower him a little. To try to make him a little more interesting if he has any stakes. Anyway, so Quasimodo and the Beast, they're having it out. Quasimodo looks like at this point, he's on top because of sheer power. Quasimodo's just simply bulldozing the Beast. However, they're still being philosophical. And Quasimodo doesn't understand why the Beast is still alive. In his mind, the Beast is being... He has no good reason to believe he'll get out of this alive, and you're just holding off the inevitable. However, the Beast is not going to give up, simply because he knows the alternative, and he's going to fight that alternative. This somehow kind of tugs on Quasimodo's emotional strings or his emotional circuits, because he doesn't have a heart. He's utterly confused by his enemy, and sort of the courage he's showing, and he realizes that the humanity that the Beast has, he'll never have that humanity, because he'll never have that feeling that the Beast had, and he decides that he's going to commit suicide. And it's kind of a sad ending. And even the Beast realizes, hey, even though that was a computer, it's a person in my eyes. And he feels a little bit of sadness that Quasimodo took his own life. He did not. He would end up being reconstructed, and he was in a Marvel team-up a couple of years later. So, however, the Beast also has other problems. And that's mainly his power set is changing. It changed in a way that he wasn't expecting and that he doesn't really like. And he also has information about the conspiracy that he's looking for in his factory. So he has new evidence that he's right. So he knows that this game is going to go on later rather than sooner, or end later rather than sooner. The next issue, that's when the Angel comes in. The Secret Empire is a bit more active in that issue. It's a good issue. That's when the Beast meets one of the members of the old X-Men, and that's sort of how Hank, his getting out of the closet or getting out of the cage moment. That I always figured that had to be tough on the Beast, because I'm sure Asia was looking at him like, hey, dude, did you fuck up that bad? Dude, you really fucked up. So anyway, so that's my recap and review of Amazing Adventures number 14 from 1972. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.